financial reports in solving business problems. And our two awesome specialists in their own right, in their experiences, are our lovely Jabu Matiko, who is the Managing Director of Running Businesses Today, and Kristine Tadhope, who is the founder at Upvisor. Thank you very much for making time and coming here today to hear from these wonderful panelists. And before we do that, I'm now going to give the opportunity to, before we run the poll, sorry, Chris, before we run the poll, I would love to give the opportunity to Derek to really kind of share with us around this, what's the purpose around this community of us meeting together, and then we'll go into the poll. Are you available, Derek?
Yes, I'm available, and thank you very much for opportunity once again, and looking forward to the great day ahead. But yeah, the main purpose for us is to, I would say, network also, because any business growth it hinges around the networking. The more people you know, the more people you engage with. Hence, we encourage the participant to keep the chats going and to engage, throughout. But yeah, we are looking at the business practitioners, but also entrepreneurs to learn. But also, these seminars are not a waste of time because they work towards your CPD points. If you are employed or you are running your business or you belong to a professional body, you are able to use this opportunity or this as part of your CPD point in your companies or in your any spheres. But also in terms of growing your business, it's very useful. So we just would like to thank everybody for joining us and for being with us, and looking forward to those who are joining us for the first time. It won't be the first time, I promise you, but to those who have been with us throughout, thank you very much for staying committed and loyal to our webinars. And thank you very much. And thanks to SEDA, our partners, and to EPI. And we are looking forward to going forward together and delivering these impactful webinars. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Derek, on that. And on that note, I would really like to start us off with our first panelist. So, Bujabu, you'll be speaking in a moment, but we have a nice poll to kind of set the tone for us. And please, participants, feel free to participate in the question we have. So, which financial documents do you use with your clients when assessing progress? So how do you assess their progress as small businesses? Do you look at their bank statement? Do you look at their income statement, profit and loss statements, balance sheet, the cash flow report, financial dashboards, or anything else? Please feel free to type it in the chat. And this will kind of also help our presenter, who will then talk to those points, and we can look at the practicalities and which one works. So please, if you are on your phone, it will probably be somewhere on the, like hiding somewhere, just click there and you'll see it pop up, or it's at the back of one of your windows on your Zoom if you're on your laptop or on your computer. And then question 2 is also at the same time, we're doing 2 questions. And what are the most important stumbling blocks preventing your client from using financial information effectively? So these are our 2 questions. And so far, of our 49 participants, we've had 2 responses. So please feel free to participate. I would highly encourage you to do that, please, so that it can feed into the depth and the meat of our presentation, so we can have our excited Bujabu, who will present to us about, on this point. While you're doing that, let me just give you a little snippet of who Bujabu is, as much as he's already shared a bit of himself and what he's passionate about as a person, and how involved he's been. He's been on the grassroots, so he knows the day-to-day issues that all our businesses and practitioners are trying to sort out. We're at 48%, so please keep doing that. So Jabu is responded to small business supporting practitioners. He's worked as an advisor and a facilitator over the 26 years already. So he has 26 years of experience in this space. previously served as a trade union organizer, and currently is the MD of his small business consulting firm, which is running businesses today. And on that note, as he switches on his video and gets ready, so far our feedback, we've had about 60% of you all responding to this poll. Let's see if we can at least get about 65%. Just a few more, 4 more, it will be wonderful. Okay, we're nearly there. Okay, so now we're going to share the results. Perfect. And as you can see, Bujabu, you can see the results. Let's talk through it a bit. So it seems like in the room, the first question, a lot of people are saying the documents they use to understand their clients' progress as as business advisors is the main one. They look at the income statement, the profit and loss statements, and then the balance sheet is 52%, and then closely to that is your bank statement. And there's a cash flow. So that is quite interesting. So it'll be interesting to hear from you what your thoughts are around that. And then question 2 is, what are the most important stumbling blocks preventing our clients from using financial information effectively? And the point is they are too busy with working in their businesses. So we don't take note of that because we're just busy working in the business. That's 61% of our clients do that. And about 55% say they think accountings are for SARS and compliance only. So they're like, okay, maybe, it's not important because it's for SARS, and maybe it's like, oh, I don't make that much for me to even bother about SARS, who knows? These are the little myths and things people say. And then at 39%, the businesses do not have the capacity to keep accurate accountings. So that's quite interesting at 39. And if there's no growth, they do not think the effort is necessary. So those 2 questions is quite something there. Thank you on that. Bujabu, you are on mute. Feel free to unmute yourself now, and we can now talk to what you would like to share with us all. Any thoughts? Go ahead.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Hello once again. Looking at the poll, one gets the impression that a lot of things have improved. So the story I'm going to share with you will actually prove or show or indicate that when we initially started with SMME development, particularly around issues of financial reports and stuff, things were really tough and were very difficult. But the other thing that I need to indicate is that if you look at the question that was used for the poll, the question talks about clients. And I'm having a slight problem with the concept of clients. Because just like in marketing, we know that you need to have a clear target audience. You can't say I've got customers. You need to indicate which audience or segment you're dealing with and what's the value proposition for that segment. Now, I know in this webinar, we've used the word client in many webinars, but if you think about it, you might find the poll results that we're having today could be about businesses that are already in the growth stage, for example, and businesses that are doing well, but business that had a history of growing. They could have started from a physical growth where they were gathering assets to a financial growth where they went beyond break-even, and they're busy now sustaining their businesses. So I wanted to clarify that because my sharing today is actually based on a specific segment in the SMME landscape. Now I'm using the word SMME because, as I've said, I'm not too sure at times what we mean by clients. I know we take for granted that we know we're talking about SMMEs, but I think it's useful that we sometimes focus and be clear which target group in the SMME market we're talking about. Otherwise, we might not be able to develop the right solution for that segment. So what I'm going to share with you today is really a focus on people who were at a conception and startup stage during the times when I was training. Now, to understand what was happening at that time, I think it's critical that we go a little bit to history, and I'll try and really be brief. I think we all are aware that there was a time in this country when people could not run businesses, particularly Black people. But obviously that legislation could not stop people running businesses. They were running businesses that were informal and survivalist. I think you've heard of a lot of stories of people who are successful now telling us how their mother or father was selling magwenya or wood or this, and they helped them go through schooling. Those were the businesses that existed then. The problem with that stage was that the businesses that developed at the stage were mainly survivalist. There were a small SME sector that had a local market and was providing that local market with a variety of offerings. Hence, you find that people were able to run a hair salon, sell fed cakes, be a child minder, maybe the husband or the brother is a taxi. So they offered everything that was possible. The result was that the business owner was involved in everything, but recording nothing except to look at what cash was in the bank every month. So that culture of running businesses without source documents, informal recording, became the norm. Actually, I'm using the word culture to say it became a way of running businesses. And that was the way in which a survivalist mindset developed. Now the problem with cultures is that you cannot tell people to change them. You cannot go and say, okay, I'm running a course for you, it's a 3-day course. You need to go out of this course understanding that you need to change your culture. And my sharing today is about how can we develop structured learning program that can deal with that culture. And in fact, if you reflect back on the IBASA SEDA webinars, this topic of finance has been coming up in many webinars. In fact, I was looking at my webinar record and I see finance as being the most dominant challenge. It has been run twice for the last 18 months, and this is the 3rd time. Now, that does not mean I've got a problem with it. In fact, what I think it means is that we are really grappling with this challenge, and the more views, the more ways in which we can solve it come up, the better. But I really want to make sure that people who are going to look at previous webinars, it will be useful to look at the 3 at once. The last 2, the one is dated 17 October 2019, and the other one is dated 28 January 2021, and today's one. If you look at the 3 of them, I think it gives a big picture of what's happening. But coming back to the issue of how can we solve this giant challenge. In running business today, which is the business I work for, and I'm also partly an owner, we've developed board-based business simulations. The idea was we needed to take people through a practical learning in which they can do things, learn by doing, run a business, go through a business process, and as they go through the activities, they develop source documents during the process, and those source documents are at the end used for purpose of drafting an income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. So the methodology is really board-based business simulation that adheres a lot to practical and discovery learning. And in the process, we spend most of our time demystifying learning experiences and particularly instructional jargon. And in this case, I'm referring to all the concepts that you usually find in your financial reports. Can we move on? Now, the first report I'm gonna be dealing with is the famous balance sheet. Now, in front of me, I've got an already filled up balance sheet. But in our training program to demystify a balance sheet, we don't put up a balance sheet as you see it from the beginning. We actually talk about 2 issues there. And the one is, if you were to continue, Toby, the one would be, what have you got? And the other one would be, where did the money come from? Now, those are simple questions that actually attempt to make people feel ease at what is being discussed, and also start to understand that the big words such as balance sheet actually can be things that we use in simplified day-to-day practical way. Now, if you look at the balance sheet I have there, you've got those two big issues. Your what have you got, which is really I'm referring to assets there, and where did the money come from, and I'm referring to the financing. And actually that talks to your accounting equation, you know, asset equals to owners, equity, and liabilities. But out of that balance sheet, immediately we also extract one of the key issues that kills business on a daily basis, which is part of your working capital. Now you'll see I've given a picture there of working capital cycle, showing that actually on daily basis, you need to be grappling not only with cash, but with inventory. You need to be sure that you've got enough customers. And if most of those customers become account receivable, then you need to make sure that the repayment period are aligned to your need to pay your accounts payable. And of course, as we all know, this is difficult to get a loan. So if you don't manage that cycle very well, then that's really the demise of your business. So balance sheet is one thing, but out of it, take out issues that relates to the day-to-day problems of maintaining a business.
Hello.
Now I think it's critical that hello.
Okay.
Somebody's talking. Okay, I'll just continue.
Good job. We'll keep going. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's critical to understand where does this problem start. Remember, I talked about how in the past our businesses have become survivalist. Now, with the new SA, we started to experience a transition in which the survivalist business was still continuing, and you also have new businesses that started, you know, their business management processes, conducting feasibility studies, and checking if the businesses that they are starting have a way in which they can relate to certain customers, and obviously how to deal with competitors. And that actually was the strategic marketing plans that they developed. Now you have businesses that are formal, having marketing plans, and on the other side, we've got businesses that are still serving many different segments, not following financials and stuff like that. And actually that sometimes creates the problem that if in the next part of my presentation, you'll see these are the businesses that, because they are informal, they don't have sales funnel, they don't have a number of customers they're following up and stuff like that. Of course, we know now that things have changed. I mean, instead of getting leads using cold call, people use digital marketing and stuff like that. But the bottom line that I'm saying is that businesses that have been survivalist and are continuing to be survivalist don't operate on the basis of a strategic marketing plan, and then don't have a sales funnel. They serve whoever they can serve. Now, those are the two learnings that are absent. And as a result, if you don't have a more structured formal sales funnel, it means you can't project your sales. It means your income statement, which should be looking at how you perform, it's something that is strange in that business. Now, once again, income statements in our courses become a very interesting way in which we try and explain what performance is about. Now, obviously, I've got no time to go through this, but if I had time, I was going to illustrate to you how, you know, a lot of people like to say business is a game. And actually, so it's such an interesting thing to show how an income statement can be compared to the game of football, where performance, which is a set of activities that happens during the game, can be compared to performance, just like we have in the income statement, where if you look at the big five, I've selected key areas in the income statement that are called big five, and we compare them to the African big five as you know it. And in many cases, as I was trying to explain, survivalist businesses, therefore, will confuse sales as a big figure, as the animal called elephant, and don't take into consideration the problem or danger that is posed by cost of sales. and at some stage they are confused by gross profit and become so short-sighted without realizing that actually gross profit is not the profit that's in the business. You need to still recover and pay your overheads. And then you've got operating profit. We still need to pay interest if, of course, you have been borrowing some money to run the business. And there is tax, which is supposed to be paid, and net profit. And the net profit figure is also a problematic one. Because if you're running a business informally and you don't use records, then you don't realize that that net profit has got to be at least divided into two pools. One could be your retained profit, how much you still put back into your business, and the other could be paying your dividends. But like I'm saying, these are not the reports that are being used because we're still pushing a survivalist approach. Now, I think the thing that we need to be careful with my sharing is that please try and think about the segment I've outlined, which is your conception stage and your startup stage. And I'll be keen to know from the people who have been polling whether they have got the experiences that I'm outlining in those segments. Okay, now, one key thing that's useful, once you've got people to understand both the income statement and balance sheet in simple terms, you are able to then show them how they can use those statements for practical planning. In the case of income statement, we then construct a very simple way of determining what turnover do a business need to cover the overheads. We sometimes call it break-even point, okay? Now, and those are the 4 steps that you'll go through. And it's interesting to actually understand that those steps are linked directly to the income statement that people would have developed in the simulation during training. So it's demystified in that way because it's not something that comes from a textbook or people cannot relate it to what they were doing in the simulation. Let's move on. Now, here's the crux of the matter. If financial reports are an end process of the business of recording and reporting accounting information, and this serves as business intelligence for planning, leadership, control, and motivating employees, why is it that then we still have people who are reluctant to use them? I've pointed out some of the reasons, but I think the key thing that I'm trying to indicate is that this is what we need to make them realize they're missing. Because from an income statement, you can have a clear agenda for the business around issues of asset management. And I'm talking about insurance, maintenance, and depreciation on fixed assets. I'm also talking about daily management of working capital. These are the things that you extract from the balance sheet, and people can then use them as daily or monthly key performance indicators in their business. Same with financial performance. You can see that we've got key levels of profit from gross to operating to profit before tax to net up to retained profit and dividends. So sales is not what actually is the driving force in the business. You need sales for sure, but out of sales, you need to ensure that you grow the business from your retained profit. And more so since these days, it's difficult to get loans and stuff like that. And you've got a cash flow. Once again, because of time, I'm not able to demonstrate to you how you can use a dam situation where water flows in and water flows out to make sure you've got a dam water level that actually is not going to either cause floods or cause water restriction. And that's really what cash flow is about. So from these key issues, you are able, for the purpose of continuing training and getting into mentorship, to develop what I would then call a business performance tracking tool. And these issues, depending on what's critical for that business at that stage of development, you can use this as a way of developing KPIs that people can budget on monthly basis, and every time check whatever variance is there and develop a remedial action to solve the variance. And in fact, if that's the case, there's no way you can be reluctant to use the tools, because the tools are really part of your running the business. It's got nothing to do with the accountant, nothing to do with SARS and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm aware I've rushed through this. I mean, most of the things I've been talking about are things that I cover in a 4-day course. And if there is any more info, people can contact me on the address that I've given. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bujabu. And I love that you are on the time, and you even had your timer on there to remind you for 15 minutes. You made my job.
Made your job easy, but you made mine difficult.
You did phenomenal. No, thank you. And I mean, I don't know if there's any, I'll have a look just now if there's anything in the chat, but I like how you've also you've demystified the jargon. And that's the problem we have with the majority, I think, of potential also amazing businesses, is that this jargon will make it easier for them to manage and to be able to dream and to have strategies of expanding as a business. And I like how you've used the big five, the Africanism aspect of who we are to kind of explain the complexities that are there. It's not to make it seem that it's easy and it's worth nothing. It's just to make it seem accessible for our small businesses and aspiring businesses. Thank you very much on that. If there's any questions, please, everybody, feel free to put questions in the Q&A section and share in the chat, because after our next speaker, we will also have then an opportunity to then have the Q&A, and then everyone will come in at that point. So thank you very much, Christoph, for making sure I don't speak too much. So our next question is, how often do most of your clients review their financial report and management accounts? And while you're responding to that question one, there's question two of our poll two. What financial information sets or ratios do you use with your clients to set targets or investigate problems? And while you're all responding to that, I really would like to, again, just kind of take this opportunity to introduce our next speaker, who will then kind of help us through this whole section. And this is Kristine Tadhope. She's the founder of Upvisor. And she's the founder of Upvisor, and she does business support. And while she's a chartered accountant, she mostly works with small business owners who need practical financial management solutions. She recently launched a Woodridge Connect, an online school where new educational approaches are used to benefit learners beyond the classroom. Pleased to meet you, Kristine. She's gonna unmute herself and switch on her video, and so that we could see her. And then while that's going, what are the responses from the, where is my windows? I have so many windows. I think I'm losing things here. The responses from the poll. Where are we at there, Christoph? What's the poll response?
Just over half of people. I think we can aim for over 60%. So there's still people, some voting. Only two questions to answer. You can only submit when your second question is also answered.
Yes.
But yeah, we're trying to see, sort of what our clients are using, noting that they are small businesses, and that I definitely take from Jaba's starting point, the thing about culture and the way that we are entrenched in the way that we do things, and especially our clients sometimes not seeing the value of accounting. So it's interesting to see the level here of the responses. How often do most of your clients review the financial reports and management accounts, and what financial information or sets of ratios do they use? It's really kind of interesting. So shall we share? We've got over 60% people voting now. So just one last second, if you're about to vote, please do so, because we're going to end the poll. And if we've done that, we can share the results.
Great. Hi, Christina. Can you see the results already? Kind of perfect. I like the thumbs up. While you unmute, thank you. So we got, where we at? Quite a bit are once a year. 39% people actually do or manage their financials once a year. That's 39% of the 59 that have responded. And quarterly and every month.
Monthly.
Sure. 16 monthly. Wow. 10% never. Oof. Monthly management account plus weekly reviews. So it's interesting. So if we combine that weekly reviews and monthly management, and about every month, we are what, 32% there. That will be interesting to see there, Kristine, versus 39% is once a year. So, okay. So most of that 39% are those who are doing it once, maybe. And then the question 2 is, what financial information sets ratios do you use? So net profit margin, okay, gross margin ratio is at 42%. Oh, but 45% is working capital to total expense ratio. Isn't that interesting? And then that's at 45, and then at 39 net profit margin, and then current assets to current liabilities at 35. So would you like to talk to that? Hi, Kristine, how are you?
Hey, Sobeka, good, thanks, and yourself?
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Great. Are you from the Windy City, by the way, right?
I am from the Windy City, all the way from Port Elizabeth. I've been so enjoying the rain that we've been receiving here the last little while, considering the drought. I've just come back from Joburg, where it was like thunderstorms all the time. So I'm very glad to have brought some of the rain back with me.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Citizens of Gqeberha will be very happy around that.
Yeah,
Anyway, I will
GQ,
hand over.
as they say.
That's it. Go ahead. You have your 15
Awesome.
minutes. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Sobeka. Thanks, Christoph. It's been very interesting to see the results of the polls so far, both Jabu's polls as well as the ones that you guys have just done for poll number 2. I find it interesting as a business owner, and I'm sure a lot of our advisors can relate. The clients that we are dealing with are often in a situation a whole lot more in the busy for. One of the challenges that you guys mentioned your clients are facing is the fact that they're actually too busy to be focusing on their financials. And I think this is something that we really need to be helping our clients with. With Upvisor, we are really trying to find ways in which we can free up the business owner to be able to focus on the things that matter the most, which is strategy and operations, right? And take away some of the burden that goes along with finances. And I think as advisors, we all have a role to play in that situation, right? So if they are struggling because they're too busy, or because they are only doing their financials because they're looking at it from a compliance perspective, there's some education that we are responsible for, right? We need to explain to standing what's going on in their financial point where they're able to make informed decisions based on their. You guys mentioned that such a large portion of your excuse me.
No worries.
I'm not sure why my video has been stopped.
We stopped your video because your bandwidth is, we can't hear you properly. So we'll put on your video later on again. But if you can continue without video, that would be great. You can speak.
You can speak, Kristine. We'd rather hear what you're saying, the most important. You can see the video. Go ahead.
Perfect. I have switched my connection, so hopefully it will be a bit more stable. So I'll try once more with the video, and then if not, then we can switch it off again. My apologies for that. Okay, so yes, I think we really have a responsibility to train our clients so that they understand the value of dealing with their finances and being able to analyze it and make the right decisions based on that. I was quite worried about the fact that so many of the clients are only reviewing their financials on an annual basis. That means that they don't understand why they need to do it. So we should be reviewing our financials at least on a quarterly basis, but ideally on a monthly basis, right? Because we can then start making more accurate and more relevant decisions based on those numbers. What I was happy to see, though, was that there are quite a large number of your clients that are dealing with their the analysis of their ratios from a cash flow perspective, right? So looking at the liquidity, looking at the accounts receivable, their current ratios. So that for me is good because profit is important, but cash flow is often even more important, right? So we'll delve into that a little bit deeper as we go into the presentation. Okay, so what I've laid out here is just a little bit of a process that you can share with your clients. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, but it's helpful to take them through it step by step, right? So if you can manage step number 1, you can systematically get to step number 2, and so go through the whole process. So if we think about this process of analyzing your financials, firstly, we need to be able to pull the right reports. Now, some of you guys mentioned that your clients are struggling with the accuracy of their financial records, and as a result, they are not getting the right information to be able to make decisions. So we need to help them, right, to be able to get to the point where the information is manageable, it makes sense, it's accurate, it's up to date, which I find a lot of people struggle with. And based on that, we can then start pulling reports. And the types of reports that we would pull could be other than just your income statement, your balance sheet, and your cash flow statement, right? We can get to a point where we start building up dashboards so that they can really start making better decisions about what's going on in their business. So once we've got the information, then we can go about analyzing it on a line-by-line basis. So looking at really big outliers that might be taking place during the course of the year, whether it's month on month, or even within that month, you might find some fluctuations. And if you can identify what those outliers are a result of, it makes it much easier to be able to address the issues that arise. And what I will do just now is I'll just share an example of where we've analyzed a client's information very basically, but we've got some graphs, and those graphs tell a story. Okay, the outliers and analyzing on a trend is especially helpful if you've got a business that you're dealing with that are that's seasonal, right? So if I think about the citrus industry, so I'm historically from citrus, and there's definitely a season that takes place, right? Between say March and August, that is when they are really busy, and the rest of the year they're much quieter. So if you can understand those trends from a seasonal perspective, again, you're able to get to the point where you're able to make better decisions and be able to identify potential improvements, and even be able to get to the point where you're able to forecast cash flow requirements and make better plans sooner. So what I will quickly do is just to share an Excel spreadsheet with you guys so you can see what we have done. As I said, it's a very basic analysis, but you will see it tells a story. So what you'll see here, we've done it in Excel, and we've looked at sales, both consulting and training, you can see there. And what you'll see is a very obvious peak that took place in August. So if we understand this, we can go analyze and see what is the client, or what is the job that we got in that month that has caused it to peak. And are there ways in which we can firstly maybe repeat that, okay? So to bring in more business, if we know the type of project that happened, can it maybe occur at the same time again next year? Or maybe, the rest of the months are quite flat. So how can we maybe spread that increase in sales over a longer period of time to be able to help our cash flow so that it's not as sporadic? So that peak helps us so that we can actually understand where to go. Then the next part is looking at your expenses. You can have an idea. Again, you can see some troughs and some peaks. And again, that helps us just to understand what is going on. Here on the right-hand side, you'll see we've done a little bit of rental as well. And you can see there was an increase in May, and that is what caused the peak. So the more you can use the data, see the trends, the better you are able to make decisions. So then if we just go back to the slides, in terms of ratios, you guys have already mentioned a couple of ratios that your clients are looking at, which is awesome. There are different categories, and I won't go into too much detail here, but we need to understand which of these categories are most important for our clients. As a service-based business, you might find that solvency actually maybe isn't as important, and maybe even looking at inventory ratios are not as important, but understanding what's happening with your debtors are vitally important, right? So looking at your cash flow, so bringing in those liquidity ratios and bringing in the profitability ratios along with it, okay? They always have to be read within context, okay? So one category needs to be read with another one, and you need to be looking at the trends from one year to another, and even benchmarking it against what is happening within the industry. So just as a final slide, what I've included here is a little bit of a scorecard that you can look at. And there are a lot of ratios that we can do in each of the categories that I mentioned previously. But as I said, we need to make sure that we're choosing the right ratios for our client, considering their industry and the stage that they are in within their business. So I've highlighted a couple of the key ratios that we would normally deal with. So you guys mentioned liabilities versus assets previously. So here you can see I've categorized it green, yellow, and red. and we need to understand where our clients are sitting. So these are rules of thumb. They are not industry specific. You might need to go do a little bit of research and understand what is happening in the industry for your client. And maybe your scorecard is going to look a little bit different. But if you can help them see these categories and be able to start building up a dashboard based on the ratios that you have chosen, you will be able to get to the point where your client will be able to see at a glance what is happening in their business based on their financial results. So you'll see I've got their liabilities, I've got the current assets. We're looking at preferably 1.5 to 1. If it's less than 1, in other words, that means your current liabilities are higher than your current assets, then obviously that's a problem, and that's something we can address specifically with the client. You'll see there we've got the working capital to total expenses ratio, and then importantly, we must never forget return on equity is an important consideration, right? Could I be employing my funds better by simply investing it with the bank, for example? Much less risk, much less exposure, potentially a better return. Okay, so that's always a comparison that we need to make within our businesses to be able to determine whether or not we are, taking the right steps and moving forward correctly. Okay, so I just wanted to leave that with you guys, just as a quick overview of what we should be looking at with our clients. And I really want to encourage you guys to work on putting some dashboards together. Our clients are often overwhelmed with too much information, right? So try and simplify it by looking at, just pulling out the key components within their financials that are the most relevant to them. Okay, so I will hand back over to Tobeka. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you very much, Kristine. Oh, wow. Our panelists today are like on the dot. Thank you. But now it's also nice because it gives us an opportunity to really delve into more questions and realities and practical questions. And actually, we have our first practical question around that for our panelist. Nikita is asking, which accounting package is, in your opinion, the most user-friendly for reporting, inexpensive and sufficient for small businesses and entrepreneurs who are not good and preparing management accounts apart from Excel? So there's Excel. What other thing is there that's very useful to use, that's easy to use and user-friendly for the small business? I don't know if any of you have any thoughts around that. That's our first question.
I'm happy to answer that question. I'll start, and maybe Jabu, if you want to add anything onto that. So it really depends on what your affordability level is, right? So in my experience, if you're looking for a free option, maybe a little bit limited in terms of what it's able to do, but there's still quite a lot that you can do, is something like Zoho Accounting. So that allows you to be able to invoice, okay, and you can manage your expenses. You can't necessarily import your bank account into that, but you can still at least pull information from it. It's definitely not going to be as in detail as some of the other accounting packages, but that could be a good starting point if you are, starting off with a free package. The next option, the next jump up that I would say is probably looking at Sage Accounting. So with that one, you're able to bring in, and I see Brian has said the same, you can automatically import your bank statements, you can do all your journals in there, you can invoice, you can follow up, and there are all of the accounting records that you need along with your financial reports. So your income statement, your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, all of those would be there. I'm sorry about my quality, Mina. If you guys are you okay?
Well.
Okay,
yeah,
great. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I would probably say that Sage is going to be the best solution. If you are looking at also running payroll, then what I would definitely suggest is that you look at the annual package. I think it's roughly 3,500 for the year, but it's then for the entire year, and it gives you access to be able to do your payroll through them as well. I think it's for 2 employees, so it depends on how big your business is, but that's going to be your most affordable option at this stage. You definitely don't need something like Xero. As a small business, they start getting much more complicated. I see Max has also suggested some other options. Okay, that's from my side, Tobeka. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kristine. But Jabu or Sisbo?
I think Kristine covered me. In fact, the more I listen is the more I get a confirmation that we've got a very serious problem. See, the stuff that Kristine is talking about is critical, it's needed, we need to have it, but it's at the end of the process of us solving the problem we're talking about today. Because if you think about it, I mean, if the poll says only 16% of people review their financials every month, surely what are they doing then in the rest of the time? Because to me, it means they're not running their businesses. So any software that you can get for a person like that is not going to make a difference. In fact, they might not even understand how to use it. So I'm not saying Kristine stuff is not useful. I'm just saying, once again, we need to look at the developmental path of businesses and start to understand which business need what. Because to have a one-size-fits-all approach to this problem, I don't think it's going to help. Because if somebody does not even understand what working capital is, in fact, they take the cash they use in their business and they buy groceries in the family. Sure, you've got a serious problem there. Now you can't even talk ratios to that type of a person. You know, and just a last one. I just ran a course in Carltonville and I was running it for taxi owners. Interesting, a very interesting group. And one of them was saying to me, Jabu, Nyaguzwa, you talking income statement, but I've been running my business for 18 years and I'm surviving. So what is this thing you're talking about? Now you've got a serious problem there. And as I was saying, you need to demystify, you need to wear their shoes to deal with the issue. You need to make sure they understand it. And it's not our problem because we're happy about having it, but it's our problem because we don't think through these issues. Is that most of the learning that we do, it has got an element of telling. You can't tell others that this is wrong or right, but actually, I think we need to take people through discovery processes where you have the aha moment, where people say, oh, now I see. You need to have buy-in. And in fact, if you do have buy-in, then they'll don't go and buy the software. But unless you reach that stage, you're talking to the wall, or you're talking to a small segment of our SME in the small business landscape, which is why when I started, I said, please, I really want people to understand that I'm talking about people in the startup stage. That's where the problem is. And with more retrenchments and youth leaving universities without job, that segment is getting even bigger. And unless we do something on that one, I don't think any software is going to work. I think it's okay, not that it won't work, but it will work for a certain segment of our SMEs.
Got you. Thank you very much, Bujabu. I mean, what I like about this is just going back to those stats. I wish we could bring them up though, is, you know, I'm always one of those people who see a silver lining, is that 16, the ones who see it, who look at their financials monthly and quarterly, right? That 32%, if they move across, the nice thing about that 32%, that they can assist the story for the ones that you're talking about, Bujabu, who are startups or really just starting up. So suddenly they've moved from being the startup that didn't have anything, to now they do it. And now they'll tell a story through experience to the new kids in the block. So I think we need to find ways, practical ways of bringing these amazing parties of people who are in the extreme situations in the spectrum. So I think if we could start doing that and work with those who, like with your taxi drivers, what I love about that, those taxi drivers, at least is asking the question. Now, suddenly, the beauty of that question is it opens up something now to work with. Because once you get 2 or 3 of those taxi drivers, you've got the industry eventually, right? Sure. So anyway, but I love it. It's exciting. Anyone else? I see some responses. I like the F&B one. I use that, even though sometimes it can be very challenging at start, but it's nice to kind of give you a broad viewpoint. Any thoughts? Anyone wants to give some thought around that? Christoph, anyone who's asking a question we can bring in? Terence, Budboni, Sisbongi. Okay, she's gone off now quickly. Derek, any thoughts around that?
I think both speakers have spoken about 2 different markets and very well in both of them. But I think something that we need to take into account that Jabu touched on it is we need to make sure we are dealing with what our clients want. And often that depends on why they are in business. So if a lot of people have been retrenched and they're simply in business to survive, that's all they have in mind. And until we can get them to understand that they don't have to survive, they can actually thrive they're not going to change what they need. So it is about starting right at the beginning, listening to what the need of the client is and the outcomes they expect, and then building those models. And both models are brilliant. I'm going to steal a couple of thoughts on both of them, by the way. If you have a problem, let me know, then I'll pay you for it. But they're both great models. It's just, I think we need to start that step further back and say, what is the outcome the client wants? And then build on that to the point where we give them what we know they need. But we can't start with what we think they need. We've got to start with what they want.
I can add on to that, Tobeka. I think, sort of that, especially if we come from an accounting background, we want to offer our clients as much value as possible, we want to show them all the magic that they can see from the information that's available there and sitting to be used. But it may be intimidating, and I think I take from Jabu's input there that kind of a first understanding of where the client is at and what the benefits are that they can get from specific pieces of information. So I would be keen to hear from people in the room, so we are a good crowd here today that are working with small businesses, what we found as practitioners with our smaller clients that are stepping into the use of information, financial information specifically, in understanding their businesses better. What is that first step that, because if you see the use of the information with one small thing, you can easily step into more complex ways of analyzing your business. But what is that kind of one thing that allows people to move away from just following their balance on their bank account, which everyone does, you have to, because you've got a commitment that you have to meet tomorrow. But moving away from just kind of looking at the balance of the bank account to some other metrics, what people in the room and also, sort of from us on the panel, but specifically also from the participants, so what is that specific piece of information that allows one to open the door, so to speak?
Does anyone want to talk to that point or come on or ask?
I would love to hear from Jabu to start off with, so in your experience, Jabu, what is that information that makes sense for them first to start the journey?
Okay. The thing I find always is to make them realize they're wearing two caps. On the one hand, they're a business owner. On the other hand, they could be a father or husband to someone. And therefore, they need to separate those two worlds. And this is where actually the challenge is. And once I can remember, I've talked about the mindset, the culture thing. So if you start there, at least then you have people understanding that, they might be having a family, but they've also given birth to a new child called their business. The child that needs to be nurtured and to be taken care of. And if you remember the working capital cycle that I showed earlier, I think to me that's also the first thing that I'll go to, because if you mess up with cash that you have in the business, despite the fact that, as you say, and you're rightly saying it, that people depend on looking at their bank account, the check account, how much cash is there, but they don't actually look at the cycle. That they're able to go and take their cars for wheel alignment, but they don't do that in terms of aligning cash, their debtors and creditors. And this is something you can do practically. It makes sense because these are the things that makes them not be able to sleep, but they don't know what is it, because until that they're trained, until they understand it, some people even think it's bad luck. they think something is wrong happening to them, when actually these are business principles that they're not aware of, they've not been trained, and therefore they sometimes even personalize these issues. They hide from each other the fact that they've got these problems. So to me, it's not just only numbers, it's the jargon, but also it's how we train them. And once again, I'll sound like I'm really pushing out on the business simulation, but I think we sometimes get caught up and forget that we've spent 4 years or 5 years in universities to become chartered accountants. And I think we then sometimes find it difficult to come to the level where people are, and not because we're doing it deliberately, we don't want to empower. It's just that our mindset has gone through a process where we've been socialized to think about this concept in a certain way, to come with solutions in a certain way. And that's why I was saying to Christy, her approach and stuff will be so worthwhile for people who are already growing, for people who understand what break-even means, for people who understand what sustainability means. But for that guy who's still confused by the two caps, who still use the same credit card for his family and for the business, I can tell you, you've got a big challenge there. Actually, they're likely to be reluctant to even talk to you because they think you don't know what they're going through. But the last point that I also want to say is that, and I can't remember who made it, is that sometimes as business advisors, we tend to focus on the end product of the business process, in other words, financials in that matter, and are not visible during the business process when our so-called clients are actually running the business. We're not positioning ourselves as their business partners. We're positioning ourselves as experts to them. And I've got a very interesting example. I once ran a program for owner-driver, and I had a group of 20 guys who have been financed, and they were trucks that were bought for them. In fact, they were just retrenched by ABI, and the trucks were bought for them to do the township deliveries. But you know what went wrong? They were not explained how the finances were dealt with. They found themselves having to be accountable to a bank that had a structured account in which every month they need to pay for tires. Good thing you need to have tires, diesel, maintenance and stuff like that. There was a big fight there. A fight to fight against good things, but because of the way they were imposed to people, did not work. So it's a very fine line, because the stuff we're talking about is real business intelligence. We need information, but our people don't understand this information. When we try and deal with the information, they see us in position of control by these learned groups. And unfortunately, we need to struggle through that path to really get ourselves credible, to be seen to be credible partners. So I'm aware I didn't deal with some of the questions, but I'm busy still using my last 15 minutes to continue the presentation. Sorry about that.
Don't apologize. You are just helping us make a thread and connect and see it in reality. And I think
the last thing, which is my point. Sorry, Toby, the last thing. I'm looking at the question and answer API. And I'm looking at the fact that we've got 64 people, and I know Christoph has asked for questions there. I'm also delighted to know what do they think about these issues. It can't be that quiet, unless if the same problems that our so-called clients are facing, they're also facing, which is fine. It's not a problem, it's a learning curve. But really, we need to hear what's the story there.
Well, the story, I mean, there's a lot happening in the chat. I think that's interesting. People agreeing with you, people talking to different tools. So everyone is contributing to what you're saying, Jabu, and what you're saying, Kristine, and just sharing their insights. So there's not been much like questions other than that one question. And I don't know what you are saying is true. Is that because we don't know how to ask a question or what there is to ask? I don't know. Sisbongi, do you want to say anything, or put Derek or put Bonnie? Go ahead, Derek. I see you've unmuted, and then Sisbongi.
Yeah, I think maybe we are shocked, so that's why we don't have questions. So, we are still in that state of shock. But yeah, the bottom line is that you cannot grow what you cannot manage. Whether you are growing a plant, you need to water it for it to grow. And based on the presentations today, and also based on the reality of business, it's quite clear that as entrepreneurs or as practitioners, we need to know on monthly basis what is our performance in terms of business, because if you get to understand how you performed last month, you will know where you need to improve, and you will need to know where there were gaps and that you need to close. But also it's very important that as we grow these businesses, where we identify a skill gap, where the skills that we don't have, let's say in the area of financials, let us not pack it and say, because I don't have financial experience, I don't understand this, so let me leave the financial accountability aside. You need to either look at, do I need to employ the skills or do I need to outsource the skills so that our businesses can grow in a balanced lakes where all the corners or all the angles are covered. So I think from today, it became very clear that we need to look at those things and take it serious if we are serious about growing the business or taking our businesses to the next level. Thank you very much.
Yes, my take is that maybe we are quiet, as Jabu has asked why we're quiet. Maybe we're quiet and we are shocked because we are in the same position as those small businesses. There is a link for me between the knowledge the small business has and also the knowledge that is possessed by the person that is supporting the small business. So it's also quite important for us as practitioners to sometimes sit back and also do some introspection in terms of how much is it that we know when it comes to this area. This is a very, very difficult area, and most of us, we're very scared when it comes to finance. And most of us, we do not have the accounting background. So what is it that we are doing to empower ourselves so that we can be effective, you know, when we are supporting or when we are dealing with small businesses? So the culture that Jabu has touched on, which is the reluctance in terms of using or recording according to financial accounting, must also be addressed, but not addressed only by the clients, but also be addressed by us as practitioners as well, to say, are we doing enough? And what is it that we are lacking on our side as well, so that we can have a better impact? Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Bongi. Thank you, Derek. Those are very important questions and comments that you've shared. But before I go on to pick up what I got from the two, I would like to give an opportunity to Ramela, one of the participants. We've got you in the room, Ramela, to really talk to your question that you've put in the Q&A. Feel free. Hi, everyone. Video, or otherwise, if you're not comfortable, it's okay with audio as well. Go ahead.
That's okay. Hi, can you hear me?
Very well, thank you.
All right. I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. I'm an entrepreneur and I've been in business now for about 6 years. And all these challenges and barriers were experienced by us in our early days as well. We're a completely self-funded business. And my business partners were only 23 at the time. So there was no experience as well as no funding. But we have overcome a lot of these hurdles. And I love what Jabu talked about, you know, some of this practical skills and logic that can carry us to the next level. But I also do understand from my experience that there's a big gap between having that skills and not. And I'm interested in how do we, as other entrepreneurs who have made it over this hurdle, get involved to assist people on a practical level with practical experience, you know, to say, okay, well, we were there not too long ago. This is what we did to overcome it. And I know that we might not be able to help all types of entrepreneurs. I did join this late, so I understand there's like different levels of people, right? I understand that some people might be so far behind as compared to where we were when we started. Like we had an education, you know, we had some basic skills. Maybe there are entrepreneurs who don't even have that, but I still believe that it is possible with us sharing our knowledge on a practical level that we can actually help people. So for me personally, as an entrepreneur, I'm very interested in that. I'm very interested to know how can we get involved, because I believe we can help. Thank you.
Great, Ramila. It's a good question. It's really about how can we have a peer-to-peer exchange spaces of supporting each other. And I see Derek is unmuted. Go ahead. Do you want to respond to that?
No, all I want to say is that Romela should just take membership with IBASA and become a certified business advisor. And then from there, we can assist each other in terms of empowering one another so that we can be able to reach out and assist small businesses. Because I believe that it's about the model. We have a lot of models or multiple approach in the space. So I believe that the platforms like SEDA, where you can be a business advisor or subscribe to that because there are code of conducts that you have to follow. And yeah, and platform like IBASA, because those are the platforms that would create a community where you can share in terms of how do we reach out to these entrepreneurs, to these small businesses out there, so that we can be able to share the knowledge, the experience, so that we can be able to know if I don't have strong point on this area, then I can have somebody that I can call to come and close the gap in the area of finances, so that we are able to balance in terms of how we assist in the ecosystem.
Great, thank you, Derek. Go ahead, Kristine.
Thanks so much, Tobeka. I've got 2 points I want to raise. The one is just to link up to with what Bongi was saying previously. I think it is so important for us as advisors to make sure that we are upskilling ourselves, right? We can only speak with confidence if we feel like we are adequately skilled in a specific area. So as your role as an advisor, you have to also do some personal development, right? To make sure that you are up to the task of actually advising someone else. Just a random fact. So they say like if you think about sales, you should know 10 times as much as the person that you're trying to sell to about your product, in case they ask questions, right? So the same goes, and even more so in an advisory capacity, right? We need to know so much more than our clients about a specific area, and where you don't have the answers, you need to be able to put them in touch with people that would have the answers. So I just wanted to echo what Bongi has said, and really it is up to us to understand where we are struggling and find the solution to that problem before we start advising in that area. And just for those of your clients that might be in a space where they're actually not quite up to the task of understanding their financials, maybe even getting good quality financials out, you might find that instead of starting as a partner from that perspective, you might want to start as an advisor and as a consultant, help them to prepare the information up to the point where they've got the dashboard or whatever it is, so they can start making decisions. So you might have to take up that initial role in the process just to start off with, and then as they become more comfortable and confident, you can then start training them to start grasping how you actually get to that point. So I just wanted to mention that, whether that's you doing that or whether it's outsourcing it, getting someone else to do the finances, at least get it to a point where they can start making decisions, and then gradually they will start understanding better. And then I would just like to answer Ramila's question, because that's actually what I wanted to add. Ramila, I think there are so many ways in which we can get involved. Some of them are through structured programs like IBASA, and joining in with communities that exist. But I want to challenge you to even see which entrepreneurs are in your area, maybe within your network, that you are able to even get into a mentoring type of position with. Entrepreneurship is a lonely journey, and I think a lot of us know this. So if you can become an accountability partner to someone else, an entrepreneur that's starting out, that you can just share some of your knowledge and experience with, I think that would go a long way in their development as well. So whether that is by joining in networking events and trying to meet up with other entrepreneurs. I know there are a lot of Facebook groups, like I'm thinking about Future Females, that's available online. And there is just such a wealth of information that could be shared in that space if you're able to leverage that. So yeah, I want to encourage you, find networks that you can link in with, whether it's a formal body or not, it doesn't matter, but start building those relationships, because you're going to be able to really be able to build into the life of another entrepreneur. Thanks, Tobeka.
Great, thank you, Kristine. And I would like to kind of actually have each person of our panelists just to give us 2 minutes as for closures, just some final words and everything. So we'll end with you, Kristine, just to get your breath back, because you just spoke. And whoever, I'll just look at who's unmuted, who can start us off. to speak, and I think it's Bujab who will start us off, and just give us some final words from today, and then from there I'll have Sisbongi, and then yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think to me the statistics have confirmed why we are having the third session on finance within this webinar. And maybe we need another 2 or 3, because the challenge is not over. And I think it's even more worrying because the clients, you know, I'm having a problem with this with clients, but it's not within the SMEs, but it's also within as business advisors. It's not really worthwhile just to focus on your client's end of the process aspect, which is finance. I think you need to understand first their business model. You need to understand what are the issues that they're going through. Because in anything that they do, there's going to be a production of numbers, which at the end, those numbers, we call them financial reports. That's intelligence. So if we're not involved throughout the process, I bet you our clients do know that we're not involved. They know that we only come at the end of the month to do some few things, giving our own opinion and assumptions and get paid. And they resent that. They won't tell us upfront that they resent that. But you know, why would somebody who know that the business intelligence that comes from financial reports is useful for them be reluctant to use them? There's surely a mindset issue. There's an attitude issue, even before we think of skills and knowledge. And those are the 4 pillars that I think today's webinar was so useful to indicate that that gap is still huge. And it's going to be worse because there's more and more people who are going to jump into this entrepreneurship wagon in the next few years or so. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Pucha. Sisbongi, and then after Sisbongi, we'll have Derek. I will have Terence. Sorry.
Thank you, Tobeka. I think for me, the highlights of today is the different ways of how to address the culture of running a business without proper financial recording. And also the other highlight is how can we deal with this culture? And there is so much that Jabu has said around this. Understanding the client's business model is quite important, but also simplifying to the client, it's quite important. He mentioned the approach that they use, which is a simulation, learning by doing. And I think that approach, it is quite a good approach for so many people, and even for people that do not only for the survivalists, but even for people who do not have some accounting background. So if you simplify it in that way, as Jabu has demonstrated for us, I think one of the principles of learning, especially for adult learning, adults, because their span of concentration is quite low, so they learn better when you make them do things. So for me, that's a very good approach. But also it's quite important that as practitioners of small business development, we empower ourselves. We have Kristine, who also touched on different ways of reviewing the financial reports and also the different ratios that he touched on. And some of the things I'm hearing them for the first time. So I'm encouraging our practitioners not just to attend these webinars, but to also look for other approaches of learning. There's quite a lot of ways that we can explore and empower ourselves so that when we assist those small businesses, we assist them from the point of knowing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sisbongi. Go ahead, Terence.
Is there anything left to say?
If there isn't, no problem. I just give you opportunity, each one.
I must agree with what Bob was saying, and the two panelists that presented, very well done. I know I've learned something extra, and I think that's an important part of the whole process, is that it doesn't matter who you are and how clever you are, you can always learn. If you're not learning, well, then you fail. You actually need to learn, otherwise you're failing. There's just a stat that I was quite interested in doing some research a while ago for a training program that I was putting together, is that of the small business in South Africa, 46% of them applied for finance during the pandemic. The scary part is only 1% was helped. 1% received financial assistance. And that is because of non-compliance. Non-compliance through SARS, but mainly through financial statements. And so what we talk about today is, how do we get our clients to understand the need and the use of those financial statements is really important for the future of our small business to be able to unlock the funding and assistance that is available to them. So my recommendation is, this is just a taster of what we need to know. We all need to make sure we somehow sign up for more information, more training about this topic so we can help our clients better. And one of the things we need to learn is, and Jabu was very, very insistent about this, how do we listen better? We have to listen to what our clients want, what their vision, their outcomes are, and only then can we design a way of assisting them. We will eventually get to the place where Kristine is, and it's brilliant because I've worked with them. It really is good. But let's start where the client is and what their need is. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Terence. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Thank you, Program Director. What one has learned today is that from this presentation and the engagements is that what the practitioners need to take into cognizance when assisting the small enterprises is to understand and take cognizance of their literacy levels, because that would assist. For instance, if you're about to train people in financials, you as a practitioner need to have the profile of the participants so that you don't talk above their heads, such that you trim your approach, presentation, such that it reaches their level of understanding as well. Also important is the fact that when you're recommending the accounting software, is to take into cognizance the user-friendly of that particular software, because it doesn't help giving someone something that he or she will never be in a position to understand and use. And also taking into cognizance the affordability of that particular software as well. Those are the things that one could say is learn from today's webinar, that we've got that responsibility as practitioners to take those into cognizance when we want to go out there and assist our clients on financials, given that these financials are regarded as the ho-ho by our people because of our background in terms of knowing the calculations and all those stuff. But again, we need also to accept the fact that there's no business that is a business without financials. So that's very important.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bonnie. We'll have Kristine, and after Kristine, we'll end with Derek, who will then just have also a few words after he shares on IBASA, if he needs to share anything around that. Go ahead, Kristine.
Awesome. Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, I think everyone has sort of echoed the same sentiments. I think education is really, really key. In terms of what we offer in our business, we really look at how we can equip the business owners to really get to grips with what's happening in their business. And I think if we're missing out on that component within either our own businesses or within the clients that we are working with, we're never really going to be able to get to a point where our economy is sustainable, because the businesses that support it are not sustainable. So yeah, I think there's a heavy burden that sits on our shoulders as advisors to make sure that, we are really up to the task of taking responsibility of taking our clients through from wherever they are to where they need to be, and help them cast vision and to understand where they need to get to. Because if they can understand, how you know, what the silver linings are and how ideal it's going to be when they get there, the chances of them being encouraged and enthusiastic and passionate about getting there along with you in the journey, I think it's just going to make it so much easier. So yeah, I wish you guys all the best with your clients and with your own businesses. I'm sure that these sessions that you have had have been helpful. Even if some of it has gone over your head, that's okay. It's at least creating awareness so that you know where you need to take the next steps within your own development as well. So yeah, good luck. Thanks so much, Rebecca.
Great. Thank you, Kristine. But Derek?
Thank you, Rebecca, for great facilitation. And thanks to Kristine and Jabu for great collaboration in information sharing. And we really appreciate your time. And I believe that you open our eyes to understand that what we don't know, we should ask. And when we ask, we should implement. So it's upon us now to say, what do we do going forward? Do we increase the 1% funding that has been awarded by empowering more and more entrepreneurs to understand and to be able to give a good and sound financial report that would assist? So yeah, I would say that IBASA, we are here to see how we can help through the business advisors that we have, but also through our networks and through our partners, SEDA and the government at large. So we are looking forward to see how we can work with you and assist you going forward. And just for announcement, I would say that we'll be closing the office on the 22nd of December, and we'll be opening on the 12th. But we have not closed our cell phones. We have not closed any other means of contact. You are free if you want to join IBASA. You are free to communicate with us directly. If you want anything or any inquiry or any query, you're more than welcome to be in touch with us. Thank you very much. And this was very, very fruitful.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. And also Mpo, who's just put something in the chat around thinking, how can we make use of the young unemployed accountants, how they can support small businesses? I completely agree with your sentiments on the costing, and yet seeing an opportunity for our current accountants that are coming out of university. And on that note, thank you, Christoph, on sharing on what's next. Our next webinar will be using online tools to deliver business support and training. So we look forward to seeing you in 2020. What year? 2022. I had to double check. I wasn't if it's 23 or whatever. I've lost track of time now and dates. And I think I'm over this whole COVID thing. So I'm thinking maybe in 23 it'll be done. But please be safe and take care of yourselves. And as entrepreneurs, let's also be very careful, everyone, that we don't get stuck in this period of silliness and expectations and our mental health, because this is a very trying and testing time. And as practitioners, let's also support our entrepreneurs so that they don't get captured by this, and we start changing this narrative of how we take care of ourselves in December, because there's still January coming on, and we don't want to be sick and unhealthy and have the stress of the silly month. Christoph, thank you very much. As usual, you do a phenomenal job there, Puti.
I still have, for those that are rushing off, you must rush off, I'm sure. But there's a good group of our community in the room. So, I mean, if anyone wants to just raise their hand and we can allow you to say Merry Christmas to the rest of the community, we'll bring you in to do so. But if you have to rush off, that's also fine. Thank you for attending. And, you know, sort of we're open for suggestions on themes. In fact, we had Jabu joining us today after he volunteered after the previous webinar where we spoke about the theme. So anyone can raise their hand and we can bring you into the room quickly just to say hi.
And even those who can switch on their videos, and we can do a screenshot of, you know, Merry Christmas or something. If you can get that.
Remile is, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. You're coming into the room. You can switch on your camera.
Everyone can come in and switch on their cameras.
And if you raise your hand, we'll bring you in to do so. Anyone else wants to do so? Estelle, we're doing the same with you.
Awesome. Let's have them all in.
Just raise your hand and Paul will bring you in too. So Tobeka, if you want to speak to them.
Okay, hi. I haven't seen the videos yet coming on.
If you do.
Sorry, it's Ramil here.
Yes, Ramil, go ahead.
So I heard you talk about themes, and my expertise lies really in marketing and product development. So if there's ever a theme of that nature, I would definitely love to get involved.
Awesome, wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else? Estelle, Tepo? Go ahead, Estelle. I see you.
Put on your cameras if you want to, Estelle.
Where do I do that? You know, I'm 65. I don't know this technology.
You're only 65. You're still young, eh? Awesome, Estelle.
You can speak, Estelle.
Okay. Well, I just want to say a Merry Christmas to everybody. And I hope 2022 is going to be a wonderful year to just get us out of this 2020-21 lockdown mode and depressed mode, so that we can all go into the new year with lots of new ideas, and may our clients grow with us, because if they don't grow, we don't grow. So we need to really give them the service that they need. Thanks, everybody, and have a fantastic holiday period.
Thank you, Estelle. Budumpo, Legai. Oh, you want to say anything that day?
Well, I'm just enjoying the session and all the, the season's greetings and the well wishes for 2022. But I just wanted to say, Christopher and team and yourself, well done on supporting us as members, and good sessions that you are organizing, and continue on the same note next year. I think this subject, we can never exhaust it in one day. And when I started my advisory business, it was to exactly do that, to help small businesses use numbers to run and build their businesses. Because there's that culture that a business is about delivering a service or a product to the client. And most smaller businesses ignore the numbers and they see it as something else. So I think I encourage that we find some time to expand on this subject and find other innovative ways of even maybe doing practical sessions and coaching sessions. I'm not sure what can we do to expand on this, but Ntate Jabu, excellent practical suggestions. I can hear from your sound that you've experienced it right on the cold face, and thanks for sharing. And season greetings for everyone.
Mark, do you want to say anything? I see you unmuted there.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, exciting times. I think there's, with the youth unemployment running at 76%, and normal unemployment at 40%, there's a lot of work to be done by business advisors, especially in the communities. I've been involved the last 2 years with the Department of Tourism running 2 incubators, and we had 180 odd people. And financial management, financial reporting is a downfall of all of them. As you saw in the stats earlier, people are too busy running their business and they don't see the bigger picture. They're working from day to day to Friday, so there's no forecasting done over a 3, 6 months or 2 year period. So their lifespan is month to month, and that's a serious problem when it comes to cash flow. And when people see cash in money in bank, they don't see the outstanding debt, long-term debts and things like that. So there's so many tools available out there, but I'm not saying all the entrepreneurs have to be financial managers, but they need a business coach who's open to them and understands their business and can put it in layman terms that they understand. And I think that's one of the biggest things at the moment is when you look at SARS, they're talking way above everybody else. We need to come back to basic home language and examples explaining to these people. But yeah, I think next year is going to be exciting. And yeah, without small businesses, our economy is not going to grow, and our unemployment's just going to get higher and higher. But anyway, have a good Christmas, and we'll see you all next year.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark, on that insight. I don't know if Tsepo wants to say anything. He was on, but he's in here. Go ahead. You can unmute yourself, Tsepo. Thank you very much, Mark.
Good day, everyone. I would just like to thank everyone for the platform. All these times we've been watching, listening, getting info, all the tools and being equipped. This has been a great assistant for me. And I would like to still be part of this platform. So until next time, which is next year, take care. Enjoy your festive holidays. Yeah, and then can kindly please send me, maybe I already informed the info on my email from the past webinars. I haven't received anything yet for all the context of the previous ones and this one. Thank you.
Okay, great. So what we'll do, we'll put it in the chat, Tsepo, the link. You can go on Facebook. And actually live on Facebook now, and you go to Institute of Business Advisors, which is IBASA. So they are on Facebook. So that's actually running now, and as well as YouTube's.
Well, the best is to go to the IBASA website. There's a webinar tab there, and you will find all the past events there. I think Jabu went to make a study of all the past webinars there, so we can ask him to give us a summary if we wanted to. But yeah, there's a lot of really useful information there to look at, and this event will also be on the IBASA website. So thanks everyone, all the contributions. Sort of some had to run already, so we can't thank them anymore. But it's our community that can make the difference, I think, Tobeka. And, small businesses, we say, is the future. It's our job to make sure that they optimize that future for everyone.
Correct. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Christoph. Thank you very much, all you lovely souls in South Africa, in Africa, the world, and may you all have a wonderful December.